So in the last class, we discussed about what are the apparatus we require for a conduction of this series. We'll wait for another 2 minutes. Let them join. Okay. So the last class we have discussed about this beam studies. Here we have seen what are the apparatus we require for conduction of this Benkelman beam studies. That is a standard Benkelman beam with the dia gauge we require. So a frame of length 3.66 meter will be there. The total length of the beam and the loaded truck we require, that is a rear axle weight of 8170 kg and a tire pressure of 5.61 kg per centimeter square we require. Then accessories, other accessory tools like tape, chart paste, thermometer, glycerol, all those things we require. These are the other extra apparatus we require, that is other accessories we require for conducting this Benkelman beam deflection. Next, the procedure. How we are going to conduct this Benkelman beam deflection study? So we are determining the we will be determining the rebound deflection. Okay, we will be determining the rebound deflection of the pavement by applying the load. What are the preliminary studies you are going to consider before conducting the survey? So there will be some n number of roads will be there. For that you will be conducting this structural evaluation using a Benkelman beam study. Before conduction of that BBD study, first we have to conduct some preliminary survey. That is a earlier stage survey we are going to conduct. The first one is the pavement condition survey. So looking at the pavement and checking the condition of the pavement, we are going to conduct. Then marking and grouping of the road stretches. I told right, n number of roads will be there. In that, some roads will be good in condition and some roads will be having a more number of potholes, patches, all those things will be there. And some roads will be fully deteriorated. Okay, some roads will be fully deteriorated. So for that, what we are going to do? We are going to do condition survey. After condition survey, you are going to group that various types of road. There is a good road, fair road, and a fully deteriorated road. So likewise, you are going to group it. After grouping, you are going to measure the deflection observation. So you are going to mark the observation points and you are going to measure the deflection. So remember, in the preliminary survey, pavement condition survey, you are going to conduct. Then grouping of the road stretches. The third one is marking the deflection and recording the deflection observation using a Benkelman beam. Okay, is it clear, the preliminary survey? Is it clear? Kindly respond. You can unmute yourself or you can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next one is the first one is a pavement condition survey. So the pavement condition survey is carried out before starting the actual deflection measurement. So I told right, before conducting this BBD study, you are going to check out the pavement. You are going to check the condition of the pavement. What you are going to do? The members of the study team walk along the road stretch. Okay, there will be some members, that is 5 to 6 members will be there. So they will be walking on the road and noting the visual observation on the pavement condition. So I told that what are the conditions you are going to record? That is the cracking, rut depth, then surface undulation, pothole, and other stresses. So in the pavement condition survey, we are going to walk along the road stretch and noting the visual observations of the pavement condition. That is the type and extent of cracking we are going to note down, rut depth, then type and extent of surface undulations, potholes, and distresses we are going to check it. Then additional data may be collected during the condition survey, condition of shoulders. That is the shoulder conditions we are going to check it. Then drainage characteristics we are going to check it. Then depth of water table. Why? Because if the pavement is deteriorated, means because of these things only. That is the drainage characteristics. That is drainage. That is surface drains or subsurface drains. So they will be causing the damage to pavement. So how this drainage characteristics is provided, we are going to check it. Then depth of water table we are going to check it. Then topography. Topographic means the physical features of the road, how they are placed, all those things you are going to check it. Then climatic details, rainfall details, etc. you are going to collect. That is the climatic details, whether it is a monsoon, pre-monsoon, post-monsoon, summer, winter. Likewise, you are going to collect the data. So remember, in the pavement condition survey, a certain team will be there. They will be walking on the road and they will be recording the readings by visual observation. What they are going to check? They are going to check the type and extent of cracking, rut depth. They are going to check type and extent of surface undulations, potholes, and distresses. And other additional data what they are going to collect is a condition of shoulders, drainage characteristics, depth of water table, topography, climate details, and rainfall details. These are all the details they are going to collect. Okay, is it clear what are the details they are going to collect when they are conducting pavement condition survey? Is it clear? Kindly respond. Is it clear? You can unmute yourself and you can answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one is I told right. You are going to measure the. You are going to note down the some distresses content, and based on that you are going to group the road stretches. So the grouping will be done in 3 categories. Okay, you can see here a good, fair, and poor category. You are going to group it. What is this good category? When no cracking, rut depth. There is no cracking. The cracks are not available on the pavement surface, and rut depth less than 10 mm. That road is considered as a good road. Then when the cracking confined to single crack with a rut depth between 10 to 20 mm, that we are going to call it as a fair road. In the exam, if they ask you to explain the pavement condition survey for the BBD studies, means you have to write this tabular column. Without this tabular column, the marks will not be allotted. So when there is no cracking and the rut depth is less than 10 mm, we can say that the road is good. If the cracking is confined to single crack with rut depth 10 to 20 mm, we can say that the road is fair. Then a poor road, the extensive cracking and rut depth greater than 20 mm. So as we all know that rut means the longitudinal depression along the wheel path. Along the wheel path there is a longitudinal depression that we are going to call it as a rut depth. So the roads are classified into 3 categories: good, fair, and poor. Good road means no cracking, rut depth less than 10 mm, that we are going to call it as good road. Fair, cracking confined to single crack with a rut depth between 10 to 20 mm. Poor, extensive cracking and rut depth greater than 20 mm, that we are going to call it as a poor. Then the minimum length of the road you should select is 1 kilometer. So the BBD study should be carried out for every 1 kilometer of the road. So remember, for every 1 kilometer, you are going to conduct the BBD test. Then if the structural evaluation of the flexible pavement is to be carried out on relatively shorter stretches of less than 1.5 kilometer, the deflection studies may be carried out even without preliminary studies. So if the road stretch length is greater than 1.5 kilometer, okay, remember, when there is a greater than 1.5 kilometer, there is no necessary of conducting this preliminary survey. You can directly take the Benkelman beam into the field. You can directly carry out the test. No need to conduct this preliminary survey. There is a pavement condition survey, grouping the road stretch and marking the points. You can directly get the value and you can directly get the beam and you can directly measure the deflection values. Okay, so the first point in the preliminary survey is a pavement condition survey. The second one is grouping of the road stretch. That is based on the pavement condition survey, you are going to group the road stretch. That is when there is no cracking and rut depth less than 10 mm, cracking confined to single crack with a rut depth between 10 to 20 mm, poor, extensive cracking and rut depth greater than 20 mm, that we are going to call it as a poor. And if the structural evaluation, that is, if the BBD studies are to be carried out for the length less than 1.5 kilometer, the preliminary survey is not necessary. If it is greater than 1.5 kilometer, means we have to go for this preliminary survey. Okay, is it clear how to group the road stretches and how to measure the cracking and all those things? So we have already discussed in the earlier classes that how to measure the crack, rut depth and all those things. So cracking will be measured in terms of area, that is length of the crack and breadth of the crack, and rutting will be measured in terms of depth. Okay, using the aluminum striated and the wet scale, you are going to measure the rut depth. Okay, is it clear? Kindly respond. Is it clear? Kindly respond. My voice is audible, right?
Yes.
The next one is a marking. How we are going to do the marking for observation? So we know that the single lane road is having a width of 3.75 meter. Okay, the single lane road width is having a 3.75 meter. So marking of deflection of observation points along the selected wheel path. Okay, if it is a road, means I'll consider the marking. So we are going to select along the road wheel path. Okay, along the vehicle wheel path, we are going to select for marking the points. So the deflection points are marked at a traverse distance of 0.6 centimeter from the edge if it is a single lane pavement up to a width of 3.7. So if the width of the road, okay, if the width of the road is 3.75 meter, okay, if the width of the road is 3.75 meter, then we can say that at a distance of 0.6 meter from the edge. Okay, all right, my voice is audible. Is it audible? Kindly respond. Is it audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Audible,
Yes,
sir.
That is if it is a 3.75 meter lane, that is if it is a single lane, means from the edge, this is the edge of the pavement. So from the edge, you are going to mark at a distance of 0.6 meter. If the road is exceeding 3.75, if the road width is exceeding or greater than 5 meter, means we are going to mark at a distance of 0.9 meter. Okay, remember, if the road width is 3.75, we are going to mark at a distance of 0.6 meter. And if the road width is greater than 3.75, if it is greater than 3.75, that is greater than 3.75 means we are going to mark at a distance of 0.9 meter. And the marking points, okay, marking points I will show here. So the marking points, so it should be staggered in nature, like it should be like this. Okay, it should be staggered in nature. And 1 point from the pavement edge for a 4-lane divided road. So if it is a 4-lane divided road, okay, for example, we will consider this as a 4-lane divided road. So this will be the margins. So if it is a 4-lane divided road, the marking should be 1.5 meter. At a distance of 1.5 meter, we are going to mark the deflection point. And the longitudinal spacing between the deflection point is 50 meter. For every 50 meter, you will be marking the points. Okay, remember, marking of points is along the wheel path. If it is a single lane road width with 3.75 meter width, 0.6 meter from the edge of the single lane road, 0.9 meter from the road width which is greater than 3.75, and 1.5 meter if it is a 4-lane divided carriageway. And the marking should be in a staggered manner. Okay, it should be in a staggered way. And the distance between 2 points are longitudinal distance between 2 points is 50 meter. Okay, is it clear? Marking. So these points should be remembered. 0.6 meter when it is single lane. When it is greater than single lane, that is when the width is greater than 3.75, we should take a 0.9 meter. And for 4-lane divided, it is 1.5 meter you are going to consider. Then longitudinal spacing should be that is between 2 points is 50 meter. So if you are marking here means at a distance of 50 meter, you are going to mark another point. Okay, is it clear marking the points? Kindly respond. Is it clear? Okay. Next, we will move to deflection measurement. So this is very important thing. You have to remember how to measure this deflection. So how we will be measuring this deflection means I told right, a truck will be there, and the deflection beam will be there. Using the deflection beam and deflector, we will be measuring the deflection. So what you are going to do, you have already conducted the pavement condition survey, then you have grouped the stretches, and you have marked the point also. You have marked the point also, that is they have indicated that 0.6 meter and 0.9 meter. So you can observe here the marking of the points 0.6 and 0.9 meter from the actual wheel path. So what you are going to do means in the plan we are going to this is the wheel of the vehicle. So you are going to insert the probe. The probe end of the beam will be inserted inside the wheel. There will be a gap between the wheels, like there will be a gap between the wheels will be there. So in between the wheels we are going to insert the probe. And what you are going to do means you are going to level the surface, you are going to level the beam, and you are going to insert the probe end of the beam into the wheel, and you are going to note down the initial reading. So it should read 0 0. The initial reading, that is DI. D naught should be read 0 0. So the initial reading should be read 0 0. Then after noting down the initial reading, the vehicle is allowed to move to a distance of 2.7 meter. Okay, the beam will be at the same position, but the vehicle will be moving. The beam will be at the same position, but the vehicle will be moving at to a distance of 2.7 meter. Then the beam and the dial gauge, okay, the surface will undergo deflection. Okay, the surface will undergo deflection. That deflection is recorded in the dial gauge. That deflection will be recorded in the dial gauge. That reading we are going to call it as intermediate reading. So initial reading it is 0. The intermediate reading we are going to record when the truck move to a distance of 2.7 meter. So you are going to stop the truck for 5 minutes there, and you are going to record the reading. After that, again the truck will be moved to a distance of 9 meter. Again, the truck will be moved to a distance of 9 meter, but the beam will be here only, and the final reading you are going to note down. Okay. So remember, it is very simple. We have already marked the point on the pavement where you are going to conduct the deflection studies. You are going to make the vehicle with the load 8170 kg rear axle load vehicle. You are going to make to stand just above the marked point. The left wheel it should be on the marking point. You are going to insert the probe end. We can observe here the insertion of the probe end. You are going to insert the probe end, and you are going to check, and you are going to level the beam, and the initial reading you are make it to 0. So the initial reading you are going to note down. Then whenever the load is applied on the pavement means it will undergo deformation. Okay, it will undergo deformation. That deformation will be recorded in the dial gauge. Then you are going to move the vehicle to a distance of 2.7 meter. That is, the beam will be at the same position, but the vehicle will be moving. It will move to 2.7 meter. You are going to stop the vehicle. Again, you are going to note down the reading. That is a intermediate reading DI. You are going to note down. Then afterwards, you are going to again move the vehicle. Again, you are going to move the vehicle to a distance of 9 meter. That is from this point you are going to move at a distance of 9 meter, and you are going to stop the vehicle, and the readings will be recorded in the dial gauge. That reading we are going to call it as a final reading. Okay. Then again you are going to shift the instrument and the truck to the next point. The same procedure will be followed. Okay. So at the initial point you are going to note down D0. At the intermediate point you are going to note down DI. At the final point you are going to note down DF. So you will be marking only the initial position. You will not be marking any intermediate position and final position. You will be marking only the intermediate initial position. Okay. On the pavement you are going to mark only the initial position. Approximately the vehicle will be moved to 2.7 meter, and from the 2.7 it is 9 meter. So the vehicle will traverse approximately 11.7 meter from the initial point. From the initial point, it will be moving to a distance of 11.7 meter. So the deflection value will be measured at a distance of 0, 2.7. When the vehicle, that is the load is applied at 2.7 meter, and 11.7 meter, what will be the deflection we are going to note down. Okay, is it clear how to operate this Benkelman beam? Is it clear? Understood? Have you got any idea how to conduct this BBD study? Kindly respond. Is it clear? You can unmute yourself and you can answer. If it is clear, we will proceed. Only 1 or 2 are responding. So kindly, others also kindly respond. Is it clear, right? How to conduct this BBD study? Kindly respond. Okay. So Once again, I am going to explain. Carefully observe. In the exam, they will ask this procedure, how to conduct this BBD. So the first stage is you are going to mark the points on the pavement. Then you are going to make the vehicle to stand the left wheel, the left rear axle wheel. You have to make the vehicle wheel to stand on the top of the point. Then you are going to insert the probe bend into the inside the gap between the wheels. Then you are going to adjust the beam such that the initial reading should 0. Then you are going to make the vehicle to move a distance of 2.7 meter. Then you are going to stop the vehicle and you are going to record the intermediate reading. The initial reading will be recorded. Then the intermediate reading will be recorded. Then again you are going to move the vehicle to a distance of 9 meter. From the intermediate point, you are going to move the vehicle to a distance of 9 meter. Then you are going to stop it and you are going to record the dial gauge reading. That reading we are going to call it as a DF, that is a final reading. So here you are going to note down D0, here it is DI, and here it is DF. Okay, is it clear? Okay. So this is the pictorial representation you have to write in the exam. The same procedure I have given here, that is lane width is less than 3.75, 9.9 centimeter. Then if it is 4 lane divided, it is 1.5. The dual wheels of the truck are centered above the selected points. Then the probe of the beam is inserted between the dual wheels placed on the selected point. I told right, we are going to, if this is a plan of the vehicle, means you are going to insert the probe end between the vehicle path, where that is between the wheel. The locking pin is removed from the beam and legs are adjusted. Leg will be adjusted so that plunger of the beam is contact with the stem of the dial gauge. The beam pivot arms are checked for the free movement. Then the dial gauge is set approximately 1 centimeter. So the D0 is recorded. At the initial stages, you are going to record the D0. If the rate of deformation is less than 0.2 mm, you are going to record the D0 value. If it is greater than, you are going to add corrections. Then the truck is slowly driven a distance of 2.7 meter and stop. Okay, we are going to take the truck from the initial point 2.7 meter and you are going to stop, and the intermediate reading DI is recorded. Then truck is driven forward further a meter of 9 meter. That is 9 meter you are going to take from the initial point, and DF. So DF is recorded. Then the pavement temperature is recorded at least once every hour, inserting thermometer in the standard hole and filling the hole with the glycerol. So along the pavement length, you are going to dig up the hole, you are going to fill the glycerol inside this, and you are going to measure the temperature. For every 1 hour, you will be measuring the temperature. Okay. So for every 1 hour, you will be measuring the temperature. Then tire pressure is checked at a 2 or 3 hour interval. This is also very important. The tire pressure will be affecting the deflection value. So tire pressure will be checked at every 1 or 2 hours or 3 to 4 hours interval. You are going to check it, but the temperature will be checked at every hour. That is for 1 hour interval, you will be checking the temperature by putting the glycerol inside the hole and taking the measuring the temperature. Why we will be using the glycerol? Because we can't directly measure the temperature. So the heat from the temperature will be observed by this glycerol, and using the glycerol, we will be measuring the temperature indirectly. So directly we can't measure. So indirectly we will be measuring the temperature using the glycerol. Then tire pressure, it should be checked at least 2 or 3 hours intervals. Okay, during the day, and if it is not proper, means it will be adjusted. So 5.6 it should be there. If it is not there, means we are going to adjust it. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? Kindly respond. Okay. Next is collection. After conducting the BBD studies, we are going to collect the soil subgrade sample. Why? Because the structural evaluation basically depends on the properties of a subgrade soil. Okay, properties of a subgrade soil. So we have to collect a subgrade soil and we are going to check the properties of the subgrade soil. So the moisture, as we all know that because of the frost action, the moisture content in the pavement will be in the sorry for the inconvenience. So the moisture content of the subgrade will be affecting the performance of the pavement. That is, if the moisture content is present in the pavement, means you can say that the pavement at any time it may deteriorate. So to check the deterioration, how much the pavement is affected by this moisture condition, we are going to collect the subgrade soil. So the moisture content in the subgrade is determined at every interval of 1 kilometer. So for every 1 kilometer, you are going to determine the moisture content. And it is necessary to classify the soil and to determine its plasticity index. So we will be considering 1 kilometer and we will be determining the plasticity index. So therefore a test pit is dug on the shoulder adjacent to the pavement at the edge of and the test pit should be dug at a depth of 150 mm. That is 15 centimeter below the subgrade you are going to collect. Usually the subgrade soil will be collected in the shoulders. Okay, in the shoulder portion, that is the extra portion. When this is the lane, means there will be separate shoulder will be provided. In this portion, they are going to collect the soil subgrade. And about 100 gram of soil is collected at transverse distance of 0.9 meter from the pavement edge at a depth of 50 to 100 meter. So from the edge at a distance of 0.9 meter, we are going to dig the hole at a depth of 50 to 100 mm from subgrade level, and you are going to collect 100 gram of soil. And the soil sample is placed in the plastic envelope, sealed, and location number of that soil sample will be taken. Okay, this is very important. That is why? Because the soil, the structural behavior of the pavement will be affecting by the soil only. That's why we are going to consider the moisture content of the soil and plasticity index of soil. Wait a minute. Okay. So this is why that is why we will be collecting the subgrade soil. That is to know the moisture content or the moisture ability of the soil and to determine its pH. And this is very helpful when we solve the problem. Means there is when we are solving the problem, I will tell why this soil subgrade will be collected, how this moisture will be affecting the Winkelmann beam studies. And you remember from the pavement edge, that is 150 mm below the top of the subgrade, you are going to dig it and you are going to take out the sample. And 100 gram of soil is collected at a transverse direction. From the edge, you are going to take a 0.9 meter and you are going to collect the soil sample. This is about the collection of subgrade. Then comes the calculation of rebound deflection. So in this, we have noted down the DI value. We have already known that is intermediate value, D naught initial value, and DF final value. We have calculated. Now we have to calculate the deflection. We require only one deflection value, not d naught, di, and df. We require only one deflection value, which will be called as a rebound deflection. Okay, we require this rebound deflection, which can be calculated. Using this formula. You can see here at each deflection observation point, the initial, intermediate, and final deflection dial gauge readings DO, D naught, DI, and DF are noted down as the standard wheel of the truck moves forward. So whenever the wheel of the truck move forwards means we have recorded D naught, the initial reading, DI, the intermediate reading, DF, the final reading. The actual rebound deflection is given by this formula. That is D is equal to 2 into D naught difference of DF. It is not minus. It is a difference. If the DF is greater, we can write a DF minus D naught. If D naught is greater means we can write a D naught minus DF. That is it is a difference, not the minus. It is the difference. We can take either value. Which value will be higher? That value will be subtracted by the lower value. That is the actual deflection is calculated using this formula. And D is twice of the difference between D naught and DF. This is because the distance between the hinge of the beam and the probe of the deflection beam is twice. So as we have seen that the beam, okay, the beam is of 3.66 meter. In that this is 1.22 meter and this is 2.44 meter. This is the probe end and this is the hinge we are going to call. From the dial gauge to hinge it is 1.22 meter and from the hinge to probe end it is 2.44. You can observe here 2.44 is twice of this 1.22. Okay, 2.44 is twice of this 1.22. That's why the deflection is twice of D naught minus df. That is the distance between the hinge and the beam. The distance between the hinge and the beam is twice the distance between hinge and dial gauge. It is twice the distance between hinge. This is the hinge and this is the dial gauge. So it is twice of the distance between hinge and dial gauge. That's why the deflection value we are going to consider it as twice of D naught difference df. Since it is twice, we are going to consider 2 times. If it is only 1 means D is equal to D naught difference df. And it is noted that when the V load moves forward, that rebound deflection takes place and deflection dial needle moves in the reverse direction. So in this BBD study, we will be measuring the rebound deflection. Again, I'm telling from the starting class also I told, in the BBD studies, we will not be measuring the actual deflection. We will be measuring the rebound deflection. So the same point has been written here. That is the in the BBD studies, we will be recording the rebound deflection rather than the direct deflection. And whenever the wheel moves means the dial gauge will run in reverse direction. So the dial gauge will be running in reverse direction. So initially it was 0 to 10, it will be moving, but in this BBD it will be moved from 0 to 90, 80, 60, 70, 60, like in the reverse direction it will be moving. That is in the anti-circular motion it will be moving. Okay, remember the deflection value will be calculated using the initial reading, intermediate reading, and final reading, and the D is calculated using only initial reading and final reading. So D is equal to 2 into D naught difference df. Why this 2 is there? Because the distance between the hinge and the dial gauge is 1.22, but the difference between the hinge and the probe beam is twice of the distance between hinge and the dial gauge. That's why the deflection is value is multiplied by 2. So remember in the exam also they may ask how we are going to calculate the deflection value. So in the exam, if they ask the theory portion of this BBD studies means it will be very lengthy. First, you have to write preliminary survey, then you have to write the conduction, then you have to write a calculation of rebound deflection, then mathematical calculations you have to mention, then how to design the overlay also you have to mention. But in the exam, if they ask means you write simple steps, preliminary survey, what you are going to conduct, payment conditions in survey, grouping of road stretch, marking you are going to do. This is enough for preliminary survey. Then procedure of measuring deflection, you write how we are going to measure the deflection. That is you write step by step procedure what I have given, you write, that's it. Then calculation of rebound deflection. So you write this equation, the rebound deflection is calculated using d is equal to 2 into d naught minus d naught difference df, and you tell why it is twice. Okay, because the distance between the probe end and the hinge is twice the distance between the hinge and the dial gauge. That's how it is multiplied by 2, you mention. Then the measured deflection will be the rebound deflection, and the whenever the truck move forward means the dial gauge will run in opposite direction, that is in the reverse direction. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? Kindly respond. Is it clear? You can unmute yourself. Next, checking and applying the corrections. Take 1 or 2 minutes. So, as we all know that if the deflection bowl, as you apply the load, I'll write the diagram here. So, when you apply the load means there will be a deflection bowl will be formed. So, there will be some deflection bowl will be formed, which is recorded by the dial gauge. So, if the deflection bowl due to wheel load is shallow and extends beyond 2.7 meter. So, if the width of the bowl is beyond 2.7 meter, if the width of the bowl after the wheel move to next point, if the width of the bowl is 2.7 meter means we are the front legs and datum frame get affected. Why? Because the length of the beam is 3.66 meter. Here 2.44 meter will be the distance between the hinge and the probe. If the bowl length is 2.7 meter means the front portion of the beam will be affected. So remember, 2.77 means if the bowl is formed at a width of 2.77 meter, the length of the beam is 2.44. The front legs and the probe will sink into this deflection bowl. Understood? Understood? Is it understood? Is it understood? So, if the width of the bowl is 2.7 meter, so the deflection portion width is 2.7 meter. Since the length of the beam is 2.44, this 2.44 is less than 2.7. So, the front leg and the probe end of the beam will sink into this deflection bowl. So, this can be assessed by finding the difference between intermediate deflection reading DI and F, that is final reading. So, if the difference between the DI and DF is less than 0.025 mm, it is assumed that there is no leg correction. So, remember, when the DI difference DF is less than 0.025 mm, no leg correction is required. If it is exceeding 0.025 mm means we require some leg correction. Okay, remember, DI difference DF is less than 0.025 mm, no leg correction is required. If the DI difference DF greater than 0.025 mm, we require the leg correction. Okay, we will see what is that leg correction. So, I told right, if DI difference is less than or equal to 0.025 mm, no leg correction is applied. The rebound deflection is calculated using this formula. If it is greater than 0.025 mm, leg correction is to be applied and the rebound deflection is calculated using this formula, whatever I am marking. So then extra term called a leg correction factor, okay, which will be provided in the question only. Leg correction factor. By applying the leg correction factor, we will be getting the actual deflection. So remember, the correction will be applied only when the deflection is less than the difference of the deflection of initial and final, intermediate and final reading is a 0.025 mm. Then only we are going to apply the correction. If it is exceeding 0.025 mm, we will be applying the correction. So the correction can be applied using a leg correction factor K. So that K will be, I'll check it, what is that K value? So 2.91, okay, K is equal to 2.91. So that will be the K value we will be considering for determining the corrected deflection. So remember, whenever your value, intermediate and final value is less than 0.025 mm, you can adopt this formula. When it is greater than 2 mm, 0.025 mm, you have to adopt this formula. So only the correction will be applied only if DI, intermediate value and final value are affecting the value. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear, right? Leg correction. Kindly respond. Is it clear? Okay. Okay, I'll stop here. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. There are some portions are there. I will be completing it on the Monday. From Wednesday, we will be solving the problem and we'll wind up this third module on Wednesday. Okay. Any doubts in this? So today we have discussed about preliminary study. What are the preliminary studies we are going to adopt? That is payment condition survey, grouping of the road stretch, marking, then deflection measurements, how we are going to measure the deflection in the pavement. The same procedure has been given here. Then collection of subgrade sample, calculation of rebound deflection, then checking and applying the correction. Only if the deflection bowl length is greater than or equal to 2.7 meter, then only we are going to apply the correction. And the correction will be affected only by intermediate reading and final reading, DI and DF. If it is less than 0.025, we are going to apply correction. If it is greater than 0.025, we will not be applying any correction. So less than 0.25, no corrections are required. Greater than 0.025 mm, we are going to apply the correction, and that correction factor we are going to correct as a leg correction. And some of the concept left out is a statistical analysis, correction for pavement temperature and moisture. I told it temperature and moisture, how they will be affecting the then design of overlay. Then at last we will be moving to falling weight deflectometer. So by Wednesday, I'm going to complete this third module. Okay. Is it clear? Any doubts in this? Okay, I'll stop here.